Welcome, one and all, to the Dreaming in Color podcast. I am your host, Tahirah Banks Webster.
And I am your co-host, Gino Webster.
If you are joining us again, you've been here before, welcome back. We're so happy to have you here. If this is your first time, welcome. Thank you for joining the club. Thank you for joining the community. Dreaming in Color is a space, it's a community for people who are ready to trade a black and white life for one that is bold and rich and colorful and beautiful. Gino and I have spent the past decade building our lives and our business from $0 to millions in revenue. And now we're on a mission to create a future where anybody, regardless of their background, can not only pursue their boldest dreams, but can access the ideas, the resources, the technology, and the people they need to make those dreams a reality, whatever those dreams may be. So through this podcast and our content, we're sharing the lessons we've learned to date in business and in personal. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Welcome.
Welcome.
True love, is it destiny or delusion, sweetheart? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts? Okay. True love, is it destiny or delusion? I'm a lover at heart. So destiny. Okay. I feel like everyone has their person. There's a person for everybody in the world. That's my belief. And you?
I mean, you went with the light side, so naturally I have to,
go with the dark side.
No, I'm just messing. But yeah. True love. Well, destiny. It's for me. Love is for me. Companionship is for me.
Okay.
I benefit from it a lot. So yeah. I mean, I don't know what that side looks like, to be honest. So I really
the other side.
Yeah, the other side. I don't know what it looks like.
Well, this is an interesting topic for us to go into. This is episode 6, by the way, guys. So 6th episode in, and we've spent a lot of our previous conversations talking about entrepreneurship, talking about more like career-focused dreams in general. And this discussion is really around what we have hypothesized, in a sense. It's conversations we have often, but what we've hypothesized, in a sense, is everybody's dream. So that's the first question. Is it really everybody's dream to be in a relationship, to experience true love? Is that what everybody wants? That's my question to you. And you're speaking for the guys. I'm speaking for the guys.
Yeah, look, we're all human beings. We want to be loved. So it's a yes for me, but I do know that, based on where you are in your life, the different stages, that may not be the case at that time. For me, I didn't care about getting into a relationship back in the day. I did not. But yeah, at some point, I think you do want it. You want to settle down and you want to start building something.
Okay. It's cool perspective. You said everybody wants, so your belief is that every man, you're speaking for the guys, you want to experience love.
Correct.
But you just may not be in the space to be actually desiring a relationship. You might not want a relationship, but you still want to be loved.
Correct.
Okay. Cool. Kind of toxic, but I get it.
Oh, you want to have fun. It's like a rite of passage for men. You want to have fun, and that may not entail
coincide with relationships.
Correct. Unfortunately. But women want that too. Some women
3
want
minutes in, women want to have fun without a relationship. I'm speaking for the women. I will say that most women want love for sure. We want to be loved, and we want relationship. We want community. That's our thing.
I know, but I said some.
So you're saying is a certain subset of women, the baddies.
Hey,
the baddies that. I mean,
when it comes down to it, yeah, we all want it. We all want to be, supported by someone, a significant other. Oh, we want our person. We want our person for sure. You want your guy, I want my girl.
Let me ask this question: is there we know what the upside is to being in love, right? And to having that companionship.
You in love?
I kind of figure so. I think at this point, I better be, right? I better be in love 10 years in. But like, what is the downside to companionship? We all know what the upside is. You know, you're in love and you have a partner and you're championing life together. But like, what's the downside to it?
Honestly, I think it's chaos. To be honest with you,
The
chaos
downside to love is chaos.
in terms of like a relationship. I would not
How?
be in a relationship just. I mean, like there isn't like a foundation to build anything on.
So you're
Again, I'm
saying the
speaking from
downside,
my
the
own
downside to being in a relationship, or the downside to not
not
being?
being. No, no, no. It's a
Oh no,
down.
no, no, that's not my question. My question is, is there a downside to actually having partnership? You're married. Is there a
Oh
downside to marriage?
no, 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 no,
No
no,
downside.
no. I mean, to downsides to talk about, like, I mean, a nag here or there.
A nag here or
It,
there.
no downsides. I mean, it's all like upside. Like I think about, I mean, my own life,
You
and
gassing me.
when you entered the picture, it's just like nitrous. But I like to use the analogy. Yeah, the same car analogy. Like you have a car, it's stock.
Mhm,
That's you by yourself.
mm.
But a partner, somebody who actually cares about you, and you want to win together. They're like the turbo. Well, not a turbo. I'm a supercharger guy, but it's like supercharger and the wheels and the brakes and
Mm.
everything else. It just it just makes you go faster, right? You know the saying, you go, or you go, was it you go slow by
If you
yourself,
want to go
together,
slow, go alone. Yeah,
right?
and go something go together. I can't remember,
And
but yeah.
and it's just, and based on who you're with, it's just gas. Like it's just hitting the, like, pressing down on the pedal faster. And in our case, that's what it is.
So you have that perspective on relationships, and obviously I have that perspective as well. That's
Right.
why we're together, and you are my companion as I am yours. But there are very interesting perspectives around. It's 2024,
Right.
and I make the joke with you all the time. I am
But wait, hold on. Before you get into
Mhm.
that, what are some of the upsides for you? Like,
Upsides or downsides
well, do you think that there are any downsides?
to a relationship or to companionship. If you have the right partner,
Right.
no, not really, but with the wrong partner, yeah. Like if you've chosen the wrong companion, I think that there are a shit ton of downsides. Like I think
Mm,
that you're screwed pretty much. But if you've chosen the right partner, then I think it's a lot of upside. It's definitely a lot of upside.
right.
And I we'll get into this
Right.
in the
More
next
upside than
section,
downside. Right.
but definitely I think that whether it's upside or downside really depends on who you chose to be with,
Yeah.
you know? And I like I was saying a second ago, like I make the joke to you all the time. I'm glad that I don't have to date in 2024 because the streets are ruthless, right? But there's like a shifting tone because girls have historically wanted to be in relationships and
Hmm.
wanted, commitment, etc. And guys have been like, yeah, they want to be loved, but they don't want to be held on. They want to sow their wild oats. But what's interesting is there's this dynamic now in our society where there's like this hot girl kind of situation going on where females themselves are like, they're like basically they don't want no man, that kind of situation. And I was just curious on your thoughts on that shifting dynamic, because some girls are actually acting like dudes in that regard, like, hey, I'm good. Like I'm not trying to.
But hey, like, how did it get to that place though? You gotta ask yourself that question. Did we drive them there?
So you
But yeah,
said,
I respect that. Like, man or woman, like, you gotta do what you gotta do for you. But as relates to some expectations around relationships,
mhm,
there's this conversation about 50-50, going 50-50 in in your relationship.
Mm.
Um,
Are you talking financial or just in
just
everything?
just everything in general. It's not just
Okay.
finances. And when it was big on social media and stuff, I was like, I obviously knew which side I was on. Like it definitely 50-50 because I benefit a lot from that, and you do
Mm.
too. But just in my context, but I could understand both sides, but for me, my life, what I want is definitely 50-50 for sure.
Okay, cool. So you said that one of the interesting conversations around relationships right now or companionship right now is this kind of requirement. Like there's a debate, right? Because
Right.
guys are feeling like, hey, like they don't want to be used. And
Mhm.
let me just say this, even men without money apparently are aware of being used for the money they don't even have. I'm gonna just say that. And my females know what's up. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like you don't have money, so no one's trying to use you. Anyway, moving along. But
Yeah.
there are I understand the conversation,
Right.
right? But my question is like how realistic is that? And because the conversation, okay, I want to be, I don't want to be 50-50. Like most females are saying, I don't think, let me rephrase. I don't think that it's
Please
that
do. Yeah.
females don't want to be 50-50.
Mhm.
I think that what as a woman you don't want to hear is a man coming up to you saying, "Oh, you got to go 50-50 on this and that." Our first date, you didn't say, "Oh, we up here by elite, you got to split the bill." I'll be like, "What the hell is this?" And I feel like that is kind of the energy that some guys are
Right.
bringing to the situation. It's not a matter of, "Oh, we're partners in this and we're building," and it's more like, "Yo, we going out to dinner, run that check down the middle." And that's like chivalry is dead. What's that about?
Right. So here's the thing though. Like I'm old school. I would never expect, that like I would want to pay for everything. I would be paying for everything. That's
Mm.
just me. But I feel like in order to have a healthy home, healthy relationship, some conversations have to be had.
Mm.
And you know that I did not bring this conversation to you. I didn't say, "Hey, look, I'm gonna need you to go 50-50." I mean, like it just happened naturally, right? That's not so I feel like you said, if you're upfront from the jump, this is what we gotta do.
But
That's
but
not
but 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 let me say this, and I agree in terms of transparency and the communication bit of it. But we're in a very different dynamic. You and I own a business together. We own our
right,
business.
but you need to we're talking about outside of the business, living together, being married.
Okay, so you're
Put
talking
yourself in a
beyond money.
position
You're
of
talking
somebody
about
who just right, and you just start dating, like, because that's what it is. The reason why the baddies have risen up is
the
because
baddies have risen.
you got guys on dates up front telling you, look, like you gotta be splitting the bill, like putting your stuff, take like you come on, like you said, chivalry is dead. No, in the context of being married, obviously we had conversations about around this. Like I wanted you to be involved in finances. Like one of the first things we did, and we weren't even were we official? Was that official? Or we were just dating.
I mean, we were officially dating. Yes, we were officially dating.
When I gave you my debit card to go to the ATM, we were officially dating.
Yes.
You sure?
We may have been, yes. We
Okay.
were I think you had already introduced me to your parents.
Okay. Right. But like at like like again, even if you're starting out, you have some plan for your life, and you know that if you trying to spend the rest of your life with somebody and you're trying to build something, you obviously like you can't do it alone. So in the context, I want to be clear of true love and companionship and
And marriage.
expectations and marriage and being in business or on relationships in 2024 and beyond, according to Buzz, like this is
Yeah, infinity and
the
beyond.
50-50 split is, I think it's beneficial to both the man and the woman. Like everybody.
And you're talking about not just finances, you just mean the
But the
responsibilities of the relationship?
responsibilities and the role, yeah, in a relationship, just everything in
Well,
general.
let me play a devil's advocate here for a
But
minute.
okay,
So,
I do want to say something. I
okay,
wanna,
go ahead.
in our case though, it's more like 60-40, 70-30 even, because
Okay. To who and who? So who's doing
I'll
70?
just in my favor, right, me,
Okay, I'm
70,
listening.
because as part of being a man, I do, again, I said I'm old school, right? Some guys nowadays would, punish me for this, but I do feel like it's my duty to make sure that, you know, my lady is she's good. She's good. And that means doing a lot of things that you don't want to do. And I know that I can't do it alone. So that's where you come in. But I do believe that you should not, that's why we have broad shoulders, that's why we're stronger. That's just why we're built this way, so that we could take on more. And I feel like that should be the case. So if you and in the context of our marriage and our relationship, yeah, of course, I'll do that every day. Like if I would not feel right if it was like completely 50-50. If I'm going to bed before you do,
Yeah.
that's a problem. That's a big problem.
So it's an interesting conversation because what we're getting into now is like the responsibilities of partnership.
Correct.
And I do want to ask you a devil's advocate question
Okay.
on that same 50-50 topic because it is a hot topic, right?
Yeah.
And our situation is a bit more kind of twisted up because we own a business together.
Right.
And it's all our money, right?
Yeah.
If you were working, I'm working, you're working, but we don't own a business together. You're working whatever job you're working, you're making your big money. I'm working my job, I'm doing great. We're married.
Hmm.
Am I paying? Are we doing 50-50?
So I'll give you two scenarios.
Mhm.
One is toxic, and the other one, it's more healthy, right?
Okay.
If I have a really good job, most likely I'll be footing the bill. Like I'd pay for everything.
Footing the bill. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'd pay for everything. And on the other side, if I wanted to build something like, but to be honest, okay, so you're saying that we still have a business, we're
We
still
do
in a
not have a
relationship.
business. We
Okay, okay,
just
okay,
both
okay.
work
Oh,
for
we
independent
just
companies.
okay, okay, okay. Well, how serious is it? Like, if
We're
it's
married. We're in
okay,
the same dynamic we are. We're married. We having this podcast.
but just
We
different
work in
jobs and
completely
different
different
business.
jobs, and you making your money and I'm making my money. Are you doing 50-50?
Okay, so I'll say this: it would have you'd have to, yes, contribute to something. Yes,
So I gotta
that's
give
what
my paycheck.
that's what healthy looks like. No, I'm not. So that's why I said the 70-30 earlier, the split.
Okay.
'Cause obviously, like, there has to be like some ratio, and that's what I believe in, right? Like,
Okay.
the man should take care of more of the responsibilities. On the flip side, if everything was just separate, and I'm paying for everything, then even if we don't communicate it, we know that there are some expectations.
What are the expectations?
For example, I come home, I don't expect to see dishes in the sink. So, but look, that can be dangerous, right? And that's why I'm saying healthy, because you got to have these conversations. And what happens is, and I know you're gonna speak about this. As a woman, what I have noticed, like, the whole dynamic of paying for everything, covering everything, that is power to me, right?
Hmm.
Where does your power value lie? And I think I know that a mistake you guys make is, like, I would want a woman to say, "Oh no, like, I want to do something. Like, I value that. I'm gonna take care of this, A B C D. This is what we're gonna do. I love that. I'm
But
not gonna.
but there are other ways to contribute outside of money.
Right. I know. I know.
Mhm,
But as it relates to like finances, like in that dynamic where you're footing everything, um, sure, that's fine. I would do it. But if you wanted to help, that's cool.
mhm.
But something that women that they do is they don't I like to say like even today in every relationship there's a power dynamic, right? Like,
Okay.
and it's like a ship is constantly shifting. You may
Mhm,
know something, you may know something more about a particular topic than I do,
mhm,
right? That's the shift in your on your side, right? And then I may do something, I can do something better than you, and is that just that delicate shift.
mhm.
And I'll say my point, and but because you're the woman, I want to hear your views on it.
Okay.
I feel like you can't give it up. You got to know that outside of if it's not money, and I mean, if sex is a good metric, I mean, it's not
He
the
says sex
end
is
of.
good metric.
It's all right. That's like one of those superficial metrics, right?
Mhm,
But I'm talking about like what do you bring to the table in terms of like how you make my life better.
mm.
So I think we have to be, as women, you have to be very careful about like the power that you hold in a relationship. Don't give it all to the man, because then you know how that goes.
You speaking for the
You
women
start,
now? Okay.
you
You
start, no, no, I want to
evangelizing for
hear
the
what you
women.
have to say, but I come on, I five sisters. I grew up in a house with women.
Mhm,
You have to like, I know that you can't give up all of your power, because then the man just I wouldn't do that, but I know that we start to tell ourselves stories. We we start to set imaginary expectations in our head, and then
mhm.
we don't communicate that, and
And the
so
we are
that
speaking
is
about our men.
correct. And then
Right.
that's and then we start to get into a lot of those problems that we
Toxic
common
issues that we'll
correct
talk
that you
about later.
have in relationships, correct. But I love to hear from you, like what are your thoughts on that, like just the dynamics in a relationship, the roles, the 50-50 split.
Mhm. I mean, so for me, I'll speak on the power thing that you said.
Okay.
I'm a big believer. I've always wanted a partner that could lead the home. You know what I'm saying? And I was comfortable working and waiting as you evolve, because when I met you, you
Ha
know
ha
that you
ha.
were not that person, right?
Mhm,
But you evolved. I knew that you would be and you could be. So that's the first part. So I've always wanted a partner to lead the home. I've also felt like, and I grew up with brothers, but I also had a lot of male friends.
mhm,
And I think that to our first point, like
mhm.
life is not what it was in the past. You know,
Right.
like we live in a very different culture.
Mhm,
And while I believe that a man's job is to be the leader in a family and to provide and to create a safe space for his
mhm,
family,
mhm,
provide, create a safe space for, and create a safe space for his family, and to lead his family. And I also think that it's a woman's responsibility to not like to submit to her partner, as
okay.
woman it's what a wife submits to her husband as her husband submits to his wife. But I also think it's important to don't allow that submission to basically turn into like you throw your hands up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
basically no, because you know
Anything.
there what ends up happening in some situations that I've seen is that you give so much of your power away that
Yeah.
at a certain time like it doesn't, and it's not like power from the perspective of I know we're using the word power, but what it really is respect. You know, and it does start with those open conversations and communications around hey, and communication around what is it that your partner actually values, and do you
Mhm,
guys actually value the same thing.
mhm.
Like I have a somewhat, I have an assertive is the word I'll use, personality. And so
Right. That's what it's
so
called.
I know that I had to be with a partner who was comfortable with having a woman that had an assertive personality and who was not threatened by that. a
Right.
man that was strong and comfortable in his masculinity and not threatened by that. So you have to know who you're with,
Right.
because a lot of for some of us as women, depending on the relationship we're in and who we choose as our companion, we end up feeling like it's required for us to 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 to
Submit.
to but no, but submission is not a bad thing. Submission is necessary, it's required. It's when we begin to diminish ourselves and we begin to give up any modicum of power or respect over or agency over
Mhm.
ourselves and our outcomes in life is when it becomes a problem, and where now you make yourself a prime candidate for abuse and all these other things, because
Right.
a man he can do whatever. So do I believe in 50-50? I certainly would not be dating any man who took me on a date
Right.
and suggested that I pay half the bill. I would not date that person. I would never go out with him again, because I
Question.
go ahead.
Let's say I'll use me.
I'm listening.
Let's say when we started dating,
Hmm.
rolling in cash,
You okay?
would you feel the need,
Hmm.
or would you as a person, Tahira, would you offer to do anything financially, or would you would just see, you would understand, and you would just let me deal with everything?
Uh, for me, well,
If
that's
that
not
was
my
the case, like, would
right.
you like you yourself? Would you have something to say about that?
Well, that's not my personality. Like my person, I'm a giver, right? So I feel
Right.
like
Right.
you can't, like we always talk about that. Life is it's an equation. Every relationship is it's a checks and balances kind of thing. So I would never be in a situation where I'm just taking, like that's not what it would be, regardless of how much money you are rolling in.
Okay.
Um
But to your point, go ahead, continue as it relates to 50-50 if a guy just
Yeah,
out
like
the
no,
gate.
you take me out. No. If you can't afford the restaurant, plan a picnic. Like do some other shit, but like don't be bringing me to no restaurant talking about I got to pay half the bill. What is this? That is the one thing I learned, and when I talk to young girls, I say this all the time. Whatever you are experiencing now, like it becomes harder to sustain in the future.
Right.
Us going on dates, I just had this conversation today. When we were dating, when we were just starting out, it was easier than dating now. We have to make time for dating. We got to do all kinds of shit to plan and even ensure that we do it and don't go to work or do some other stuff. So it's like you have to be so much more intentional and
Yeah.
deliberate in the
Right.
future that,
Right.
like, a lot of times the output is diminished. So if you were going on, a whole bunch of dates a week when you just started out, in the
Mhm.
future you may be going on a few a month, one or two
Right.
a month.
Okay.
So if you got me on the first date 50-50 for the meal, boy, stop.
All right. Good. I hear you. I agree. I strongly agree.
Yeah,
I,
and and
honestly,
and let me
I don't believe, even if it wasn't like you're in a relationship, if you're going out, if the woman wants to do something nice, sure, let her. Like, you don't stop her. But I think you should be covering all of those costs.
but let
But
me let me
but
say
I
this.
have a no. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish, and then I have a question for you.
Yeah, because I want to say I saw this thing on Instagram the other day.
Mhm.
Well, today actually. And it was a conversation. It was the same, like, it was basically saying, oh, if basically money isn't the only way to show up as a provider. A provider is like creating a safe space and doing
Okay.
all these different things. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Like a provider, I don't want your money and then you home beating on me and you're verbally abusing me or you're emotionally abusing me or financially abused. Like I don't want that. But I also feel like that narrative is in this generation, this
Mhm.
dispensation of men,
Mhm.
um in some spaces it has been regurgitated to push this narrative that, like, basically, like, oh, I, that's not the only way I can show up as a provider. Oh, so then now we should be the provider, because as a woman, first of all, we're gonna do what we got to do. That's just how we're built as women, and especially as Black women, we're gonna do what we have to do.
Mm.
But do you want to? Do you want to carry the load? Do you want to drag this man and and take care of the household? No, you don't want to do that, and you can't live a soft life like that. And I think that that is a misconception that is kind of not a misconception, but it's a narrative that has been that's being kind of played out to say, oh, it's not all about money. It's not. There's so many other moving parts, but bring the money too.
Yeah, I'm like again very old school. I don't subscribe to that nonsense. It's nonsense if you ask me.
You had a question.
Yeah, but to what you said, like you gotta at least most of the money, the financials, you need to be bringing it to the table for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, my question was, I to what you just said,
Mhm.
what are some of the responsibilities of a woman?
I think okay, on the spot. You the only thing you ain't did was raise your eyebrows. Like, let me hear you now. I I think the me personally, I said this I think in the last episode.
Hmm.
I feel like my responsibility as a wife and even as a girlfriend at that time, it's to create an environment where my man can thrive and be his best self, and to champion him, to be his biggest fan, and to be the one that holds him accountable, and to just create an environment where he has to think less. Like he's going to be thinking a lot, but to create an environment where he doesn't have to think about all of the
Right,
little
right,
trivial things, and to support his dreams in whatever way my skill sets allow me to support him.
right.
Like,
Okay, good.
yeah,
Follow-up
I'm big
question.
on, yeah.
So then I'm asking you, what for a man, what should their responsibilities be?
I think that a man's responsibility is to show up for his woman and to support her dreams and to push her towards her dreams, hold her accountable, much in the same ways you hold me accountable. I think a man's responsibility is to be a provider, and for his woman to know, for his family to know that if the shit was to hit the fan tomorrow, the man of this house, he's got us.
Right,
He can earn, we won't starve, we won't die, we won't go without a roof over our heads. He will provide to be that safe space where we are protected, where
right,
my feelings are not, I don't feel less than, so it's more than, it's so much more than money. But I think that it's
right.
very
But you
hard.
see, again, I have not heard anything you've said where money was not a part of the conversation.
Well, yeah,
You said
because
to provide, to earn.
right, but I said it's a man's responsibility to create a safe space to where his family feels protected.
What would
To
you
to
prioritize?
to
Safe space or the earning aspect of it?
You got to come with both. Like, because if you're bringing money, but I feel threatened at home, or I don't feel loved, that's also not gonna work. Like,
But
it
if
and
you love, everything's hunky dory. But
no money, then no, then I'm broke and I'm unhappy. So it's like, what?
yeah,
Like I
so
just,
we can agree that you need both to have a healthy
it's
balance.
balance, and
Right.
the money
Okay.
aspect of it, it doesn't, it's not saying that it has to be some lump sum. I'm speaking for all women, for most women. I feel when I say, like, you just got to show up. You
Yeah.
just got to show up as somebody that is dependable
Right.
in every regard, dependable to
But
manage our emotions, to manage our home, to lead us, to not just screw it all up.
right. For me, I would personally prioritize financials. Why? Because money solves a lot of problems. And besides just emotional security, I think once you nail that bit first, the financial security, it makes everything else so much easier.
It does, because I mean,
But
we
but you still need to create a safe space. But I'm saying
it
I feel like if it, I mean, I can't say because if
but
it,
put
if
it
it
this
starts
way.
with not having the money at first, but it's a healthy place to then drive you to build to get it, then that works as well.
But think about it this way. Obviously, we're both adults, we're married,
Hmm.
we argue, we have arguments, we have disagreements.
Hmm.
But think about the level of conflict that we have had in the past, particularly when we were broke as a joke,
Chicken
versus
wings broke.
the
Right, right.
what'd you say?
Chicken wing broke. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
versus no, like where we are in a financially stable place where we do have a lot going for us. It's a different conversation, it's a different life. You worry less. And as women, if our basic not just as women, as human beings, if our
Right.
basic needs are
Needs.
not being met, it's
Yeah.
very difficult to think about all of the other pieces. If you're worried that you're going to lose your home, or that your rent isn't going to be paid, if you're worried about how you're going to eat, like, it's hard to not, like the I love you is great, it's perfect, but
Mm-mm.
like that's not gonna feed us. So we gotta, so it has to evolve, to
Beyond.
more than that,
Yeah.
to beyond that. And I think that if you're when we talk about is true love destiny or delusion, it
Hmm.
can be destiny with the right person. And the right person, from a woman's perspective, as a man, it's a man that sees his responsibility as that leader of his household, to create every opportunity for his family to win, for his
Right.
family to exist in a safe environment, to have the mindset, to have the access, to have the opportunities to thrive. Yeah.
Well said. I
Hmm.
agree.
So I have a question, because
Hmm.
we just before we kind of go on to conflict, um we most of what we have talked about on our previous podcasts have been around dreams,
Hmm.
and this episode is about love and companionship. Do you believe it is your partner's responsibility to push you towards your dreams?
You better would. Else I'll just find somebody else who will. I mean, that's easy to hear. Like,
Why do you think that's important? You looking at me
I,
like,
I
what are you
feel like
talking
most people want to do things together, not on their own. Like, you want to
about?
build this dream together, like not by yourself. To then what? Experience it yourself. It's That's boring. It's a lonely life. It's
Mhm,
probably unhappy as well. But yeah, I'm speaking from my point of view, just me being in this
mhm,
relationship with you. Like, I expect you to push me towards my dream.
mhm,
I expect you to see me, to give me a hug, do something. Like, you gotta be doing something to
mhm.
motivate me. Like, you just can't be there. Because
Right.
then guess what? I just not me, but
Not you. I'm waiting.
yeah, I can see why you seek outside.
You said this in one of the past ones, like that if
Yeah,
in the
because
past episodes.
you gotta tend your own grass. If you're not doing it, somebody else will do it for you. So that's
Well,
how I
there's
feel,
that.
at least. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, personally, I believe that you should find a partner, and this is where that compatibility comes into play. You need to find a partner that, or for me, I knew it was important that I found a partner who had an equal level of passion and drive and obsession with a big idea as I did. Because
You got
if
lucky. You got really
I,
lucky.
okay, because if I didn't have that in in my partner, then
Mhm.
it would make my life very difficult. Because
Right.
people can only support what they believe in. You can
Yeah,
only fake support and some shit you don't believe in for a time.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
Conflict.
right, conflict.
You want to get into it? You want me to start? You said something when we were talking. You
I know.
said conflict starts in the mind.
Right.
And I think that, let me say this even before we go into conflict. The conversation is true love, destiny, or delusion. And I think where people develop the perspective that true love is a delusional idea is right here when it comes down to conflict. Right here in this aspect of the conversation. So you said that conflict starts in the mind. Please elaborate.
Correct. So it, in my own experience,
Hmm.
you tell yourself stories, you feel a certain way, and then, and I've been guilty of that.
I was about to ask you, yeah, give me an example. Give the people an example.
Look, it's been a while since we've had an argument, sweetheart. I mean,
Really?
and I put those things behind me. But yeah, I can give you an example. Um, a big one I would say is I felt that it was okay to have some friends at my, like, for the wedding, the bachelor party. Now I thought that was cool in my head,
Hmm.
but when I said it out loud,
Hmm. You realize that shit don't make no damn sense.
well, not really. But I mean, but I understood where you were coming from,
Hmm.
right? That's one thing.
What was the
The
story you were? What was a story? But in that conflict that we had, because we argued about that for like
it was
an
right.
hour, and then yeah.
Yeah, it was essentially. I felt like that. You were just blowing it out of proportion, and it
Hmm.
wasn't that serious. And you were telling me that I wasn't thinking straight, and like, why would I want to do that? But anyhow, in terms of like, I can give you like a more recent example.
Hmm.
It's like, let's say you say something, you didn't necessarily mean it that way,
Hmm.
but I take it a certain way. And what I am guilty of in the past is just, I hold it in, and I play the version of that story or in my head over and over and over.
Hmm.
And then, you know, it starts with attitude, and then it just, it blows up. But that way it well by what I mean by it starts in the mind is it's just you tell yourself something that may not actually be the case, and instead of just asking about it, you just make up things in your head, and that's where the conflict starts.
Yeah, and I'll say I agree with that. When you said it, I was like, that's a good point. It does start in the mind, and I think that the basis of most conflict, especially in our relationship dynamic,
Mhm.
has been it has been like pers- the perception that some expectation that you have is not being met.
Right.
And this is in any relationship I've ever had. It's like unmet expectations is usually the basis of conflict. And so in the instance you were speaking about when it came to the bachelor party, my expectation was that you were going to be thinking about this in what I felt was a mature, logical way.
Mhm.
In some of the conversations that we have, my expectation in recent conversations have been that, hey, I'm going to communicate this, and Gino's going to be able to think about this in this kind of manner, and he's not going to necessarily take my comment personal or whatever it is.
Right, right.
But 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 on the flip side, when you have said something that I have held in, or that for me, like my expectation is unresolved, I know I'm guilty, and I've said this before. I will sit on that. And you've asked me multiple times, why did you wait till now to say that? Like, how do you? Why do you? But I will sit on that, and I'll think about it. I'll ruminate, and then I'll let it fester a little longer. And then when I'm boiling over,
And
I'm like,
then
so
you wake
so
up
babe, can
first
I
thing in the
talk to you?
morning. First thing in the morning. Gino, that is you. I guys, I hate that. I hate that. First thing in the morning, she want to have a conversation.
Really, Gino?
But that's what you do. Why just but we've gotten a lot better though, to be honest. We just deal with it
When
and
is the
then
last? I'm trying to think of the last time I woke you
but
up
that's
to
what I'm saying. That's what
that
I'm
was
saying.
my
But
thing.
I
That was my
hate
thing.
that just
That was my thing. Let me tell you, I'm asleep and I'm up before him because he working later than me, and he's sleeping like a baby. But I can't. So I'm restless, and when we got conflict, I cannot sleep. I want this resolved so I can go in my bed properly. And yeah, I gotta wake you up in the morning. We gotta talk this through.
Gino. But yeah, I do agree with you 150% wife. Unmet expectations. That is
Yeah.
what it
Let me ask this question. What would you say have been, well, I'll speak for myself and then you can answer, like,
Mhm,
toxic approaches, because we said that, where the issues come in a lot of times is that when people experience conflict, like, that's where you experience a conflict that you don't resolve, and a relationship ends, and maybe you thought it was going to be forever, and so now you're thinking, this idea of true love is a delusion, it's not real, when in actuality you maybe just had the wrong approach to
right.
resolving the issue. And so I know I've personally been very guilty of toxic approaches to navigating conflict. I don't feel like waking you up in the morning, excuse me, to have a conversation is a toxic approach, but if you feel that way, I can respect that.
Wow.
uh, but I mean, waking up if you're very tired, yes, but I don't see anything wrong with having a conversation when we're lying in bed in the morning. However, I feel like my approach has in the past, some of the toxic things I would do, obviously raising my voice, um, and I think mostly just bottling things up,
Mhm.
and saying partial things, and then coming out with the rest of my feelings later, which isn't fair, because then I was just like, look, let's button this up, let's
You
get
wanna
this
know
done
what's
and be done.
toxic? Them
Tell me.
long ass messages that you send. That's
Okay.
toxic. I'm talking about you need to click read more like 5 times. 5
Okay.
times, guys.
Okay, 1 second.
We gotta pop.
So yeah, for me personally, the way I have just managed situations in the past, it's not always been the best,
Mhm.
and I think I had to grow to understand, like, and I'll say this: we've had our stuff to work on in our relationship, but that was
Right.
way worse even before this. Like, how I handled conflict was way worse. And the goal is always to get better. It's always to improve and to fix. Just
Right. Define way worse though, because I feel like for example, way worse could be for me. It was just not dealing with it, like ignoring you and that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about the paragraphs. You were saying that I send paragraphs of text. I am a communicator. So, like, now I write very well, and I am better at expressing my feelings in words, written words,
Correct.
than I am, like, sometimes when I'm standing up and speaking, if I haven't written it down, then my thoughts are somewhat incoherent. And
Correct.
that becomes a problem, because then now you raise your eyebrow wrong, and I'm looking at you like, wait, you got something to say? Like, what exactly, like, what's going on, right? And so for me, it has been less on the paragraphs, but still I got to send some paragraphs, and I want to be able to communicate.
Gino.
Okay. I dislike you.
But yeah.
What are some of your toxic what were some toxic approaches you had to navigating conflict?
So like I feel like I've been in this relationship for all of my life.
Okay.
So I will only speak about those toxic approaches.
Mm,
And for me, I think it's a guy thing. You just shut down. You don't say anything. You don't want to talk about it. You just let it blow over and you keep on chugging, right? But that's
mm.
not you, right? You want to talk about it and
No,
what
that's not
we
me for sure.
right, what we had to learn to and I think I heard Will Smith say that. He was the first person I heard with it. And then I decided to do it. No, I told you about it when
Mm,
we were good. The next time that we got into an argument, let's just take some time for ourselves, and we'd come back, because I understood that you needed to have a conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I would do, my toxic approach would be to shut down again, not communicate, just let it blow over,
Mm-hmm.
let the feelings die down, and
Mm-hmm.
just keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because who wants to talk about an argument? Because like I've learned like it's a whole process, and
Okay.
to be honest, the cheat code, guys, is to be able to intercept these arguments.
Intercept.
Just don't just anything that will cause conflict, and what it is. Just don't do it. Like I've gotten better in terms of like avoiding conflict, right? But a toxic approach, and that definitely didn't work. And because it didn't work, um, I was better able to navigate it. So to answer your question, it would be shutting down, not having a conversation, not wanting for you to say anything about it, and just to let it blow over. Just
Yeah, that's.
calm down. Just let it blow over. It will blow over. We ain't gotta talk.
But what happens when you do that is that when you don't address things, like all the drama just stacks.
And you can learn and grow from it. So that's how I was able to
Mm-hmm.
navigate conflict, from all the drama and from all the different arguments and stuff. All
Mm-hmm.
right, what are you saying in all of these? And then don't do it. Don't do it, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
don't do it.
Right.
So
Yeah. And I'll say that to the point I made at the beginning of this section, there is sometimes a misconception that conflict means something is not meant to be. That, yeah, I've heard
there's
people
some
say,
truth. Yeah,
what'd you say?
there is some truth to that, because I felt like
Okay.
that early on in our relationship. Yeah.
You felt like that, yeah. Yeah, like sometimes people feel like conflict means you're not meant to be. And
Mm.
a lot of times it just means that if it's the wrong person, then okay, it's not meant to be. But with the right person, conflict just means you got to work on this.
Right.
There's something this is something you have to grow from. And so we get caught up in this idea that if it's not perfect, then we got to nix it. And and that's where love starts to feel elusive for us, because we just have this trail of broken relationships and unaddressed conflicts that create issues for us. But learning to deal with it is what's important. I had to
Something just came to mind. Yes,
learn.
just based on that point there, the misconception, that because we get into some conflict, it means that we're not meant for each other.
Mhm.
I noticed that. My God, I forgot what I was going to say there, hero.
It's
I forgot. Um,
natural.
yeah, I forgot.
No,
It'll come to me. It'll come to
it'll
me.
come back. Yeah, no, I think that, and what I will say is that in our relationship in particular, I feel like working towards a broader goal,
Mhm.
it it helps you through conflict. Because I mean, some of the things you argue about, like when you really stop and think about what even starts some of the arguments, right? Or starts an argument. When you look back, like some of it is so small, so minute, so insignificant that if you're just in a relationship for blah,
Mhm.
then okay, that could become a big thing. But if you're working towards something so much bigger together, and you're working to build something, you're working to to create a family and to create a life together, then the conflict just kind of feels like a flood. You just kind of got to swat. You figure it out and you keep it pushing, as opposed to it becoming the thing that defines you,
All right.
because there's this other thing, there's this other goal that you guys have decided together. It defines you. It is what you are doing. It's your thing. The conflict is just like a roadblock, as opposed to the all encompassing issue.
All right. So I remember what I was going to say.
Hmm.
The most toxic thing that you can do is, because we know that conflict is natural.
Hmm.
I encourage it, like a lot of it, like when you first start building something.
Hmm.
But what I noticed I was doing was, okay, You would chat your shit.
I'm chatting shit. Okay, bet.
And then I would, I'd hear it. Not taking it on is toxic. When I say not taking it on, I mean like, all right, you hear it, but it's like whatever be what. Like
Mhm.
whatever, you just talking. I think that's the most toxic approach ever
To
because
just ignore.
and not just to ignore, but to not hear you. You're
Mm,
talking, you because at I remember times I would just be there in the moment listening because I wanted to be over with this shit. Just get
mhm.
to your point, and you'd be yeah 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 yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what it sounded like, and I would just think to myself, my God, she's not finished, and
Wow.
that is so not listening to what you're
Good to
saying
know.
in the moment, I think that is completely toxic because you can't grow from that. If you're not listening, I wasn't paying attention. I can't hear what you're saying. And because I couldn't hear what you're saying, I couldn't address it to avoid conflict in the future. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
that I
that's a
think
great
that
point.
is the most toxic thing. Not you're in the moment, you're trying to address it, and you're not listening. You're not actually listening to what the person is intentionally listening to what the person is saying.
I could dig it. I could get behind that. I agree with that. It's thank you for sharing that. Thank you for
Yeah.
giving me some insight into your
So now I
perspective back
listen.
then.
I listen because
Yeah.
listening really helps. Yeah.
Because if you don't listen and you don't adjust the behavior, the issues gonna keep coming up. And I'll
Yeah.
be back there. Meow, 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 meow. But yeah, we spoke about working towards a broader goal. And you said something in our conversation a while back where you said, like, for you, one of the things that has helped you to foster a healthy relationship, a catalyst for you in
Mhm.
fostering a healthy relationship in this regard and building your definition of true love has
Right.
been this reality that there's this mutually assured success or destruction.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
You asked me a question earlier before we hop off of conflict, and or as we hop off of conflict and into fostering healthy companionship in our home.
Mhm.
You asked me a question and I was like, that's a good question. I've never even considered that. You asked me, have I ever been jealous of you?
Oh,
Have I ever felt a pang of jealousy?
right.
And you said it, I was startled. I was like, I've never been jealous because as far I know, when you win, I win. When you get a bag, that's my bag. Like we
Right.
good.
But Tahira, even though we don't experience that, you gotta know that that is in some relationships.
Yeah, no, I
Jealousy
get
plays a
that.
huge part in this conflict in general. It's like you gotta. So I had to ask you that because I don't think I've ever asked you that question for sure. Yeah,
And
because
have
I
you ever
obviously
been jealous?
I don't know because, but I just had to I just
Have
had to
you ever been jealous? I asked you. I want to hear you
of
say that on
you.
the record.
I mean, sometimes I wish I had long hair, but other than that, nah, nah.
Yeah, like
Like,
it's and but I think that goes back to choosing your person,
right.
because when we talk about true love and healthy companionship, it's so important that you have those shared values. There are people who maybe like you because of what you represent,
Mhm.
but they don't like you. Like they don't deeply love you. They don't like they have underlying issues with themselves. And
Mhm.
so those issues with themselves create conflict with you and any partner that you have. You're in a relationship with somebody and they're jealous of you, that's a problem.
Right. And
That's
yo,
a
yeah, hands down, like I feel like it's a waste of time and effort to be jealous.
mhm,
And for me personally, like how I feel right now,
mhm.
I want you to win because if you win, you take some of that weight off my shoulders. I mean,
I
I
felt this forever. I
I,
felt
I
this from the jump.
right.
And I feel proud when you do well. And I think it's important to have a partner that not only like that vehemently champions your dreams. When you say this is what you want, they hold you to that. And they don't
Right,
ever
right.
let you slack off of that. They don't ever let you kind of get comfortable and lay back. Somebody that pushes you to be the best version of yourself because they see you and they hear you. And when you are accomplishing that, they're not jealous, they're not angry, they're not comparing with their own life. They are genuinely happy for you. That is what I believe true love is. You
Yeah.
know, people that are genuinely happy for you and who are building with you a relationship where your partner is genuinely happy with you and they're building with you. So we're gonna wrap up now, Gino. But I wanted to touch on this last thing that you said,
Mhm.
and it's around our future selves, right?
Okay.
And in the context of fostering healthy companionship in our relationship,
Mhm.
you spoke to me about the fact that for you it was understanding that
I couldn't
if
do it alone.
you couldn't do it alone, but not just
Yeah.
that, but you knew that for what it is, the life you were trying to build, the opposite of a healthy relationship was going to be,
Mm.
you said chaos.
Ultimate chaos. That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
elaborate
I
on
don't like speaking for myself, but generally speaking, I feel like that would be the case for everybody.
that. Hmm.
Without structure, it's chaos, and I don't even like I don't even have to see the percentages that affects with that. Is That's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, to what you said, I again, and like one of the earlier podcasts I spoke about having a plan for your life as a man and where you want to go. And sometimes I don't do it all the time, babes. Forgive me. I don't do it
Hmm.
all the time. But sometimes you think about where your life would be if,
Hmm.
let's say, your significant other wasn't a part of your life.
Hmm.
And I think to myself, I say, 150% of the time, I would not be here because I know that it was a lot of motivation, a lot of hard conversations, like, and it compounds on each other. Like, it's been
Hmm.
10 years. Like, so
But I
imagine
feel the
it
same way.
took this all 10 years to just get here. Imagine if I was just by myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't like healthy relationships. It pays to, and whatever you guys got going on in your relationships, I'm not one to judge. Just it makes more sense to just fix that shit. Just fix it. Get to the root of the problem, and trust me, that's like unclogging a
And
drain.
if
Just
you can't
get rid
nix
of
that
all the
shit,
junk. Yeah, if you can, but a conversation is always worth it. And from there, we're all adults. Like,
yeah.
just because if that's who you're spending the rest of your life with, then you got to make it work,
Oh yeah,
right?
once you're married,
So,
that's a different kettle of fish. You can't just nix that. You have to work on that. You've made
but
that commitment.
yeah, but what about you?
Well, in terms of me, the catalyst was I honestly didn't think about it from the chaos perspective. I just knew that I knew that when we weren't good, when we were fighting or we were angry with each other, I knew that I wasn't my best. I knew that I performed under I performed below my standard,
Right.
and I couldn't focus. And so for me, building a healthy relationship has allowed me, and again, one that is still very flawed, and we have our things we work through, but working, you looking at me, oh, you got a
Actually, you know
question?
what? I remember what the catalyst was. What drove me into your arms? I
What?
was I was tired of scheduling women. I was
Oh,
tired. I w- that's what it was. Yeah, yes, that's what it was. I was
that was
just
your catalyst for building a
yeah.
healthy relationship?
It's a full time job. It was
The
a full time
chaos of scheduling women.
that yes, it's a full time job. And I remember one point thinking like
I'm gonna cut your camera.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go on this date. I don't want to go see this girl. Like, and then it was just like an aha moment. Like, you don't have to do this. Just get in a relationship. And so that's what I did. I found you. I'm just listening, but that was my thinking. Like, I was just so I got a taste of what that was,
Hmm.
and then I got tired of it, and I was like, yo, this isn't sustainable.
Hmm.
And so I said, hey, what do I have to lose? Let me try the other side of this equation.
Hmm.
Turned out well. So hey,
Yeah, yeah. For me, it is. I chose to not have conflict. I've chosen to work very hard to foster healthy companionship, because I feel like that's the basis of love, of
Hmm.
true love, and it's very difficult for true love to exist in chaos.
Hmm.
That's toxic love, and
Right.
that creates its own issues. But I just knew that I was my best self when I was with you. You know, I
Right.
was my best self when I was when we were good, when you were at your best and I was at your best,
Yeah.
then together we could move
Right.
closer to our goals.
Right.
And that I saw the result of that. I saw what happened for our lives, and just the joy. Like, you are literally legit, you're my best friend, and we laugh, and I just have a
Yeah.
really good time with you.
Yep, I agree with you. I remember the first time hearing about upside risks. I was like, upside risks? What's that?
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
was like, I have like, when you talk about the catalyst, it just makes more sense to water your own grass. And I get that now. I haven't always been this way. Like
Mhm.
I get it now, right? You gotta tend to your woman.
Ten, 10
And,
years,
and
ladies, 10 years.
yeah.
He's on a podcast, and he get it now. I love that for you, babes. I love that
Yeah,
for us.
but
I love
you
that for
gotta
me.
like you gotta understand that the more good you do, you keep that cup full, the better it is.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
you if the in the moment you start to take and take and take, so my only job, my responsibility is to make sure that this is the direction we're going, right?
yeah.
And
And
what that entails. So, and it's a lot more emotional, that you than what you think, to be honest, right?
yeah,
Making sure that
because
at home is a safe space. Yeah.
yeah, because we've talked a lot about the financial aspect of things. The first part of the session, we went into the whole 50-50 conversation, and what's not, we spoke about the conflict. But I think that the having that connection and that
Mhm.
respect and those shared values are what are the foundation of true love, you know. And when you have that, all of the other stuff, it comes together nicely to create,
That's right.
which you have to know what those are for yourself. No one can give you your values. You have to know what those are. And once you have that, then the question we ask ourselves, even when we are in conflict these days, we ask ourselves is like, the way I'm behaving right now, is this a reflection of the future version of me? Like, basically, like, the future Tahirah, the Tahirah at 40 years old, at 45 years old, like,
Yeah.
and the life I'm living, like, is this, like, would I be ashamed of her, or would I be proud of her? And I always want to be proud of that woman personally.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I
that's
agree.
it.
Yep.
That's it. True love, guys. Destiny or delusion. We say it's destiny, and we hope you do
Mine's
too.
definitely. Yep.
And we wish you a lifetime of love with your partner, whoever that.
And we'd like to encourage you, if you feel like it's delusion based on your situation, have a conversation about it. See what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. Have a conversation. So until next time, thank you. This was episode 6 of the podcast, Dreaming in Color
Ooh,
podcast.
six
Until
in.
next time, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right. See you guys. Bye.